there, my name is Ahmed Kacher and I'm going to be talking about friction. What is friction? Well, the exact definition is that it is the force resisting the relative motion of solid objects, fluid layers and material elements sliding against each other. Basically, that means it's a force that holds back the movement of sliding objects. So, when a force acts on an object causing it to move, another force acts on the opposite direction causing it to slow down and eventually stop. There are two types of dry friction, static friction and kinetic friction. Static friction acts on a non-moving object when another force is trying to move it. As long as the object does not move, the strength of the static friction force equals the strength of the force acting on the object. The object will start moving when the friction force rises until it reaches a maximum value and is overcome by the acting force. To simplify this, let's imagine you're trying to push something heavy. You try harder and you still can't get it to move, so I ask your friend for help. When you push together, the sum of your two forces is more than the maximum force of static friction, so the object starts moving. There are two factors to the strength of the static friction force: the roughness of materials and how hard they are pressed together. The roughness depends on the materials and its value is called the coefficient of static friction. As for the force pressing the objects together, it's called the normal force and it equals the force of weight except it's in the opposite direction. Therefore, the maximum force of static friction equals the coefficient of static friction times the normal force. Now let's talk about kinetic friction. Kinetic friction acts on an object when it starts moving, and its force is in the opposite direction of the movement. Like static friction, the strength of kinetic friction has two factors: the coefficient of kinetic friction and the normal force. So it's the same equation. The kinetic friction force equals the coefficient of kinetic friction times the normal force. Now, for my favorite time, experiment time. Here I have an object. If I drop it, there is no friction force acting against it, so it falls instantly. That's because the only force acting on it is the force of gravity and a tiny air resistance. But if I put it on an inclined surface like this paper, it would take it a while until it drops. That's because there is a force acting against the force of gravity, that is the force of friction. So much more to tell you, but I'm out of time, so I hope you enjoyed watching and